Hello, I'm host Eric, host Talking to Famous People, and I am here tonight with famous person David Dosh and a bunch of people in the room, including Hami, Bo, Lawrence Walker, aka Milkman, aka the pretentious meaty one, or meaty rib, or whatever it was. What was your name last time?
Pretentious thick rib.
Oh, pretentious thick rib, right. Alright, I'll see you, Bo. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. It was great talking with you. And QB Sauce, Texas Hayes. Anybody else want to talk about anything or discuss whatever? No? Okay. So how about that last thing? Let's talk about the topic that just sort of came up, which is degrees of harshness. It's something that I am sort of actively thinking about. I can be pretty harsh sometimes, especially in debates. And I saw that Hami said in a chat thing that, as we were having that debate, that I'll never admit when I'm wrong. But I don't think I was wrong in that particular debate. And I think the fact that I rarely admit that I'm wrong is because I'm rarely wrong. I've already been wrong plenty and gotten rid of those arguments, you know? So,
yeah, are there people that are never wrong? Because I'm starting to feel like, I'm not saying I am, but I'm starting to feel like that there's times where, like, no, I know I'm right. Like, I'm not wrong in this situation. So that's growing.
The Lord.
well, I think everybody's almost never wrong in their limited specialty, you know, whatever it might be. So whatever your strongest function is, and if you're in a situation where it's using that strongest function as you're most comfortable using it, you're gonna be right most of the time.
Yeah, like if you got in an argument with me about jacking off, I'd never be wrong.
I think one thing that I'm getting better at as an ENFP is my emotional arguments. I'm turning them into concrete arguments. That's something that I kind of picked up on. Something I need to work on, and something that I'm trying to do. And I guess it's about just finding what I actually believe in my head and actually putting it out there. You know.
Well, what I've noticed is that ENFPs are too easy to turn away from a given piece of ground. So if you set a position and it gets questioned, it's a good idea to continue to defend it a little bit before giving any ground on it. Make sure their questionings are. It's like sometimes I'll question an ENFP on something, and I'm not questioning it like I disagree. I'm just sort of questioning, getting more clarification from them.
Yeah.
And they'll sort of try to back away from the position. That may be a problem with me being too aggressively argumentative.
It's probably partly, maybe it could be partly that, and it could be partly that some ENFPs just don't know exactly what they're thinking at the moment. You know, they might feel a certain way at like this one given second, but when you want to ask them, you know, to delve deeper into their statement, you know, to their position, they're like, oh wow. I don't know exactly what I'm feeling, you know, at the moment, or what I'm thinking. So
But
that's
see,
kind of what happens.
it doesn't matter. That's the point. It doesn't matter what you're thinking or feeling. You just are committing to a given argument chain, and you're arguing as though you believed in it. That's what the ENTP is capable of that causes some people some discomfort, which is we can argue strongly in favor of something that we don't really actually believe in at all. And
Right.
I think that it's something other people learn to do if they do debate, but they don't learn to do it if they don't do debate.
Mm-hmm.
So, doesn't matter what you're thinking or feeling. There's another ENTP. Trenton, welcome. So, Trenton here is a fairly high-strung ENTP. I was actually talking about you with Dosh at dinner, Trenton, and how we go through periods of time being more or less high-strung. Dosh is fairly chill. I think he's worked a lot out the FE shit in debate. So can you talk a little bit about how you experienced debate as an ENTP, as an NE Dom, entering into it really, I guess, in 7th grade? You started really getting
Yeah,
debate
I mean,
seriously?
at first I thought it was like a fight, you know, like I would like yell at people and make fun of them. That was coupled with, brilliant lines of argumentation as well, but
And me encouraging it.
yeah, a lot of encouragement from host Eric to debate that way. It was fun, but wasn't, I guess, it wasn't really the point of the activity, and that style was met with, I mean, I was successful, but especially, I think really what it is when you get to a certain level of debate, people are less offended by that. It just becomes unstrategic to debate that way. But especially when you're debating more locally in front of less savvy audiences, they have very strong visceral reactions to that. And I think in order to be more successful, I toned that down a bit, and then that just sort of carried over into my life, I'd say.
Yeah, that's something I wish I would have got into is debate when I was younger, but I feel like it's something I'd be good at, but it's nothing that I've been taught, so...
You would have been good at it. ENFPs
sit here and debate with y'all back and forth, and y'all have that shit down, but something that I've always been wanting to know how to form, arguments and stuff like that. But I'm not a huge arguer. Like I was kind of saying earlier, I kind of gave up on that for a little bit. But sometimes life requires you to defend yourself.
So the topic here, I guess, is a further exploration of NE. We've got Lorenz Walker here, who is an NE in the second slot. He's an INTP. I wonder if he has anything to say about how it feels to be using extroverted intuition in the second slot as a tool function. What does that feel like, and how does it differ from ENTP displays of extroverted intuition? Because we have the same first two, but in reverse order.
Yeah, we have some similarities from our NE, and I'm not quite sure what or which are quite different from each other, since I have it in second, you have it in first. I just note the general NE similarities. I don't know what we contrast yet.
Well, I mean, you guys are a lot more quiet. I know that. I kind of was talking with Megabro in the comments and saying, I'm curious about this phenomenon of being somebody who has a dominant function as a judging function, how that must be very different than perceiving first and then judging. Because, we generate possibilities first. How does it feel like to judge stuff before you have the possibilities in front of you? Or, I mean, I don't understand it. It's inconceivable to me. I guess I probably never will be able to conceive of it, but I want to know.
I'm not sure. I haven't really analyzed it in myself enough.
See, that's the thing. You want to check to see if you know before you answer the question. That's one big difference, right? I think I would just start answering the question in general. Occasionally I'll say, I don't know. I'll think about something and I'll say, I don't know. But by and large, I just start answering the question, even if you ask me something that's I don't know anything about.
Yeah, I usually won't be doing any of that.
The only times I say I don't know are if you were to ask me something like, hey, what was the homework? I don't fucking know. Did you turn off the stove? I don't know.
Right, those things are definite I don't knows. Okay, so as an ENFP, you have as a judging function, Texas Hayes, you've got introverted feeling instead of introverted thinking.
I'm gonna take a piss outside.
Which says that you know how you feel about something clearly, but somehow you go through you're presenting yourself with a bunch of possibilities and then deciding how you feel about each of those possibilities. It seems like an odd kind of judging mechanism.
I don't know if that's necessarily what I go through. I think some of the times I understand exactly why I feel this way, and I guess there are times where I'm kind of questioning what makes me feel this way, because there's always something that puts you in a mood. That's why I don't understand when people, well, clearly people, I don't know if it's clear now, but clearly people have a bipolar disorder or something like that. But I guess maybe they don't understand what's putting them in that mood that they're in right now. And whenever I'm feeling like a certain way, it's because I'm feeling this way because of this. So I guess it's not that I'm parsing out the different options. It's just that they're not always apparent. So what's triggering the certain thought.
Is there always a
Right.
reason why you feel a certain way?
I'm starting to feel like there is a reason why I feel this way about a certain thing. It might be subconsciously why I feel this way, and I think that maybe that's what I'm getting at is subconsciously I feel this way, but I don't realize it. It's not in my conscious brain yet. But sometimes you can delve into why you're feeling this way, and it's because of this, it's because of this. Because somebody said this to you, or because this happened, but
Josh, what's your experience with your own feelings? Do you know how you feel most of the time? Do you feel like when you're walking down the street, you're experiencing emotions?
Yeah, and I'm pretty in tune with how I feel most of the time.
How do you think you feel most of the time?
yeah, I couldn't answer that question though.
I mean, it changes, but it changes.
Do you know why you feel that way?
Most of the time for illogical reasons. I think feelings are profoundly illogical, so I try and correct them with bouts of sharp rationality whenever I can.
Now, I've described to you an experience I've had before where I wake up in the morning, and for some reason, I wake up mad. And I start thinking about, I don't know, the IRS or the federal government doing something that has nothing to do with me, maybe even at all.
Oh, yeah.
And getting all worked up in a little rage.
Yeah, when I think about cops.
Yeah, a little rage fantasy.
Yeah.
And then I'll go, okay, hold on, Eric, nowadays what I do is I'll make a video before I get too deep into it, probably, unless I'm enjoying it too much. Sometimes you're really getting off on it, So, I mean, that's one of those emotional things where I woke up mad for some reason. I have no idea why. And I'm obviously not actually mad about this abstract thing that I know, but, I'm not emotionally involved with. So, what am I really mad about? How do you know that? Does it mean anything? I don't know.
I mean, I think what makes me mad about thinking about stuff like that is that I guess I can kind of put myself in the shoes, so to speak, of someone who has been subject to those injustices.
What kind of injustices? Oh, you mean
Like police brutality, or just really anything the cops do. Giving someone a ticket for not signaling a lane change or something.
Well, ENTPs are famous for hating any kind of
Police.
authority.
Yeah.
Just instinctually, we just hate it.
I really hate pseudo authority.
Like what?
Like teachers, mall cops. I mean, teachers, obviously I've had good teachers, but people who you just are told to respect for no reason other than that they haven't earned your admiration. You're just told to respect them.
Like I always told him whenever he entered the room, he needed to tip his hat to me.
Yeah.
He's like, "Fuck you."
Well, no, like for example, at the school that I used to go to, that Eric taught at, that's where we met. Very thankful for that, obviously. But we would have to stand whenever some asshat teacher entered the room. That was just such horseshit.
Right.
You remember that?
Yeah.
That was the most horseshit thing I've ever seen in my life.
You have to salute him too.
Yeah, bow.
Wow.
Pretty much.
But the thing is, in certain ways, I think debate enables you to reconcile your conflicts with authority. Authority learns to kind of get out of your way at a certain point, and you've got your outlet a bit more. It's less openly conflicting. I think Trenton, if you're here, Trenton, you can turn on your mic. you had a different experience probably in that I think you were openly in conflict with your environment. Also, because of course you were raised in the South, there's a little bit of a different environment down there. Can you talk about how any Run Wild interfered a little bit with your relationship with authority figures? If you're available and willing to turn on the mic.
Talking to me?
I'm saying to Trenton, who was here, I thought.
Wait, what?
Trenton, we're talking about NE and authority, and Josh and I were relating how we have sort of an instinctual hatred of authority, especially abuse of authority, and I was discussing how you probably ran into fewer actual incidents with regular in-school authority figures because you were out doing debate stuff a lot. You kind of didn't.
Oh yeah, the rules didn't really apply to me very much.
Yeah, you probably got away with mostly everything you needed to get away with, and you had other things to turn your attention to. Trenton here, unfortunately, is very much like us in terms of our minds, but didn't do debate, and I think he probably ran afoul of a lot more authority figures at school as a consequence. So I was asking Trenton if you could elaborate on that a bit.
I feel like a debate would be a really good outlet for NE and TI, but when you're forced to use NE and just to disrupt a very traditional cultural setting with a bunch of teachers and shit like that, it's very, very problematic because it was my only outlet to disrupt was calling a teacher a cunt or something. Like, it was the only way to fucking disrupt, like I said. And everybody, it was so easy too because the rules aren't that they're really lenient with the teachers, so the teachers could really just take whatever kind of values or whatever. And my biology teacher told us she personally didn't believe in evolution multiple times and all this crazy shit. And I was astounded. Every day I'd argue with my own biology teacher about whether or not she believes in evolution. What the holy shit? Why am I in here? But I enjoyed it. I wouldn't have been happy without it. I mean, I'm happy that those outlets existed for me, but I wish there was less problematic ones.
Did you believe in ghosts? That's the question. Because if they don't believe in ghosts, they're really not qualified to teach.
That's true.
Believing in ghosts?
Yeah, it's important. I think we need to have a test for all of our teachers called a ghost-believing passability test.
If you haven't had at least one paranormal experience, you're not qualified to work with children.
Right. Now that we proved ghosts exist, I think you weren't here yet. Earlier we proved ghosts exist, so we should act accordingly. That's all I'm saying.
How did you prove that?
Okay, give him the proof real quick, Josh. Give him the 15-second, 30-second version.
Billions of people have believed in ghosts. If at least one of them is right about their paranormal experience, then ghosts exist. For ghost deniers to be correct, every single one of those billions of people has to be wrong. Just from a probabilistic perspective, at least one of them is right.
Since they're reporting actual sensory experiences rather than simply stating a belief unbased on experiential data.
What is the definition of paranormal? I mean,
Something outside of, what is physically possible.
The definition is ghosts.
Ghosts. Or phantoms, depending on...
Yeah, I'm imagining some kind of ghoul or specter or something. When I hear some paranormal activity, I associate it with just some kind of entity, a soul.
I think all that ghoul stuff is crazy talk. Ghosts, on the other hand, it's a lot more reasonable.
Regardless, the point is, I don't know how I got sidetracked onto ghost beliefs. Oh yeah, about teachers. Right. Well, I mean, so you emerged from high school. They probably were like, "Thank God, Trenton's finally graduated."
Oh, they definitely.
Holy fuck, dude! That is literally every teacher at that fucking school. They were so happy when I left. But I was very sad. Every summer break, I was so upset because I'd lost my outlet, and I was never aware of it, but that's why I love school so much, because I get to go to school and just raise hell with the teachers and argue with them all day. I'm surprised I didn't get my ass beat. I've said this multiple times, but I don't know how one of those fucking big-ass rednecks just didn't stomp my ass on it. I really don't.
We know right where the edge of the cliff is. We don't like to go over the cliff. We just like to get right next to the edge.
See, like the thing is, I just imagine myself just like going in one of those like ENTP temper tantrums, and that is just where we annihilate every existing argument, and then start attacking their subjective values. Also, I mean, we've already screened anything they probably feel insecure about in the meantime emotionally, and we're probably that's a last ditch effort, but. I'm surprised one of those times I did that, they didn't just stand up and say, "You want to fucking fight?" And I would have to, what do I do? What would I do in that situation? What would I do? I have no idea. You can't argue your way out of that. You just can't.
You should.
I think you can.
You should. You should say, well, no, but if you're insisting on using physical violence or striking me with your fists, I refuse to back down, but I won't fight back. So you'll be guilty of a crime.
My response is, even if you kick my ass, you're still gonna be wrong. That's not gonna make you right. You're still a dumbass.
And Trenton, you would have come up with something.
Even that situation, there's two things I'd be scared of. One, actual being hurt physically and having to deal with that, and second, being humiliated. Because down in the South, that is how you determine whether or not someone is worth anything. Is how much they are applicable to the gender roles set before them. So men typically have this ultra masculine, all that stupid shit.
I just
around
think that's so
them.
easy to make fun of. That's just so easy to make fun of.
I mean,
in my opinion.
the thing is, the core point to me is, and I don't think any ENTP is going to want to back down. We're going to not back down in some way. What's not going to happen, no ENTP is going to want to be like, okay, I'm sorry, my bad. Nobody's going to want to do that.
Yeah.
Every ENTP is going to try to find some way out of either having to actually fight. I don't want it to escalate to physicality ever, but I also don't want to back down in the face of physical threat. So I will just say, well, listen, I'm calling you out on your bullshit. Now you're threatening me with attacking me. I'm telling you right now, I'm not going to fight back directly. I'm not going to raise my fist. If you insist on physically assaulting me because you don't like what I'm saying, you're not going to find me conceding anything to you. It's sort of the same argument he's saying, right? Even if you kick my ass, you'll still be wrong.
I don't know.
Have you ever been in a situation where somebody's argumentation was so frustrating that you actually want to fight them?
Yeah. I mean, only if it's about something that I feel morally obligated to defend. If it's about which baseball team is better, I'll let it go. But if someone said something that actually, was inconsistent with my values, then yeah.
My most emotionally charged arguments are with women in relationships, and they don't have to do with things like public policy or whatever. Those are the ones where if the woman has the ability to get me really, really mad if I think she's being really unfair, like my first wife was often, not enough to make me be violent, but that's where my emotions are really involved. Because as long as it's abstract still, I can always pivot out of a loss gracefully enough, right? Like, I'm okay with taking a loss in an argument if I have to. If somebody's really good, if they got me pinned down, I'll sort of joke my way out of it. Just sort of, all right, you got me, and it just make a little of it, But I can't take that kind of a loss where I've won and they've chosen to change the playing field to physical violence and I'm going to lose. That's not cool. That makes me say, no.
Oh my God, that one story about you fighting that person, about that guy hitting you, punching you through your window or some shit. That is the funniest fucking thing I've ever heard.
That was a very instructive experience for me. It's like I got to learn some things there that I probably needed to pay attention to. Needed to learn a little bit. That, in fact, sometimes it really is. Discretion is the better part of valor. It's like that instance where this big ass fucking Marine gets out of his car
Marine? It was a fucking Marine?
Yeah, it was a big fucking like 300-pound super buff fucking little car. It was kind of weird looking him getting out of it. Had USMC on his shirt, really super big and cut. And you know he had not let me take my turn at the stop sign. There was a line in each direction. Right, he went. The person in front of him went, and then he just went. After a brief pause, I didn't even honk at him or anything. Right, I just looked at him. But he stopped his car, and I was looking in the rearview mirror. I was like, "What the fuck are you stopping your car for, asswipe?" And so I stopped my car first because I'm not going to back down.
Oh, fuck.
And then, you know, he gets out of his car, and I see him. I mean, he's like a big fucking guy, and he says, "You got a fucking problem?" And I'm like, "Are you gonna use physical violence?" In a really like,
You see, it's harder to use that argument in that moment.
I did though. I mean, that's why I said it in a very like assertive kind of spit it in his face kind of way, you know. And then he asked me again, you know, "You got a fucking problem?" And I said the same thing again. And then next thing I knew, he foreclosed the distance before I even was aware he was there. He slapped me. He didn't hit me. He slapped me, and my glasses flew up my face, you know. And they went into the street, and I'm like, you know, and the
I would have just fucking drove off. I would have fucking left.
I sat right there. I was stunned. But then the lady drove over my sunglasses.
I thought it had something to do with him having sex with some girl or something.
Oh, that's
What?
a totally different. That's from a long time ago. I didn't have sex with that girl. Anyway, that's the point. He thought I was having sex with that girl. That was an actual fight where he was sucker punching me through the window. Right? I wasn't. I did eventually have sex with that girl, but not when. That was after the fight.
I think you'd probably do better in these fights if you didn't have a seatbelt on.
Right. Well, in that one, I was the one you're talking about. I pulled up to my friend's house, and this guy I knew, Steve, walked up to the window. I didn't think he was going to do anything. I had no idea he was going to attack me. I'm like, "Oh, hey, Steve," and he just fucking punched me right through the window. You know, I was sitting in the car. And eventually, after landing multiple blows on me, I managed to sort of stumble out of the car. He kept punching me. He knocked me out. I fell down in the street. And then I assume that's what happened because I came to and I'm looking up at the stars, you know, in the middle of the street. And then I stood up. I saw that he was inside the house. I ran into the house like a free safety and tackled him. His head went into the drywall, punched a hole in the drywall. And then
Did you knock out?
no. In fact, we rolled around and wrestled around on the ground for a little while until he got away from my wrestling around, and then he ran to his girlfriend's car and locked himself in her car. And his woman was already in the car. And so I went outside very enraged. And it's like I saw a big rock. It was like this big. I thought to myself, I could pick that up and I could throw it and break the window and get him that way, you know? But then
ETPs and space objects.
But then the voice of reason came back to me, and I said, "Don't do that." And so I just kind of yelled at him, called him a pussy, whatever. And then he drove away. So
That story, that was good.
yeah, that's a separate one. The one with the sunglasses is much more recent. Those are basically the only two physical altercations of my adult life. The second one wasn't an altercation at all. It was just me getting slapped.
That story, the first one about the fucking guy punching you through the window. I remember I was watching that video and I was like half-assed listening, and the title of the video was something about extrovert intuition or something. And randomly I hear, and this guy just sucker punched me through the window because I slept around with this girl. I did it. It was just so funny. It was fucking hilarious.
Later, though, not that. And if you rewatch that video, you'll see I make that point clear. I'm sure in that video as well that he thought I had slept with her. I didn't.
Did you do it out of spite after he?
No. It wasn't out of spite. It was just it was unrelated. She was broke up with him by the time and she was broke up with him at the time he accused me of sleeping with her. But you know, anyway, whatever. Doesn't matter.
Good old Steve.
Yeah, good old Steve. He was not. He was a piece of work. Anyway, so I don't know how we got up on that topic. We were talking about Annie and
School.
school. I'm completely lost as to what we're talking about or anything like that. It's been a little bit rambly here. Hopefully, it's been entertaining to watch. Let's draw this episode of Talking with Famous People to a close with a stern and sturdy reminder to attend to matters of memory. When I say attend to matters of memory, I mean specifically, don't forget to eat plenty of cheese.